Hello everybody and welcome to Nathan on Shuffle and to my latest episode of New Album Spotlight. This is the show where I put the spotlight on a new album in progressive rock that I've really been loving and enjoying. I give you guys a description of the album, what it sounds like, how I feel about it, and hopefully it inspires you guys to check it out on your own and to listen to this incredible music. I'm really trying to just showcase that there's such great music coming out now. You know, of course, there's the prog classics and older music that we all love, the timeless masterpieces that really warm our hearts, but there's such great stuff coming out now if you're willing to open your heart to new music and check out what some of these modern prog bands are doing, because it's really fun, fascinating stuff that I really love and have a passion for. So today I have an album that I absolutely love that I think is a pretty perfect album. It's from Mystery, and the album is called Redemption. And Mystery is a Canadian band. They were formed in Montreal, Quebec in 1986. And they've been one of the leaders in my mind of the neo-prog scene of more recent years. And to me, they just get better and better with time. They're just such consummate professionals in their world, in the music that they craft. They really do this great blend of like an AOR tinge style sound, but done in this neo-prog style. And think of bands like Saga and Kansas and Journey and Rush. You know, those are kind of the touchstones that you hear, but you can also hear a bit of like those classic neo-prog bands like IQ and Pendragon and Marillion and all that stuff baked into this really impressive soundscape that's full of just emotion, that's full of great playing and great abilities from all the band members, excellent musical chops, drama, and all of the great storytelling that you could expect from great progressive rock. It's just all there in spades. To me, like I said, this is one of the most perfect sounding albums in this style that I've heard in a while. And the band, I really came to know them through their 2010 release, One Among the Living. And to me, they've just successively gotten better and better over time with each successive album. Delusion Rain from 2015 was fantastic. Their last album, Lies and Butterflies from 2018, was a real treat. And here we've got an album that really, in my mind, surpasses those in a lot of ways, just from my own personal enjoyment. I know it comes down to personal preference. Some will like those earlier albums more, but for me, this is just hitting that sweet spot for me of a band that's just really honing their craft and reaching this expert level. I think about Big Big Train in a similar way, that they're just a group of musicians that just gets better with age and that really hones their craft and are just experts at a very high level at this point, where they just know what they're doing and are able to craft just really great stories and really great musical expressions in just this perfect way. So I want to go through the tracks on this one because each one is a standout and deserves some individual attention. Behind the Mirror is how the track listing starts. A really energetic opener, solo neo-prog rocker with a cool drum pattern and bass groove with really clear, expressive vocals. I love this. There's a section in there that's a bit more expansive and spacey with some cool synth work leading into a really soaring, emotive guitar solo, some almost Pink Floyd type vibes in this section. A really great emotional swell leads into the main riffs back from the beginning of the song to the ending, really providing that closure and a really great, strong, solid opener to start the set with. Just a really cool track, a great lead-off single. Then we get into Redemption, the title track, which is a really dramatic affair that really has this slow, really weighty build to it, some great keyboard textures, and a really great bass and drum sound. The bass and drums on this whole record are just really providing such a solid foundation. I love so many of the bass lines and so much of that power that they bring to the proceedings. There's a slow build, adding this layer of drama, allowing the chorus to really soar when it hits. And there's almost a dark build-up out of that chorus, adding a lot of weight and heft to the track. It's just a really beautiful track that really stands out and is really special in this early part of the album. But then we get into one of my favorite tracks, The Beauty and the Least. A really beautiful, powerful opener with sublime guitar lines, leads to some acoustic strumming and heartfelt vocals. Love how this leads into a soaring guitar solo with wordless vocal chants beneath. It just has a really good breezy flow to this track, almost a epic power ballad type feel as well. There's a more pastoral Genesis type section with some great prominent bass work and chiming acoustic guitars. We live in this section for a while with some more killer guitar soloing, some impressive build-ups, adding more drama and epicness to the affair. The musicians are firing all cylinders, great drum work, Love some of the synth soloing toward the end of this section. Just glorious instrumentals till we're led to the payoff of returning to that opening vocal, but with more soaring majesty. It's just perfect. One of my favorite tracks on the record. Just the way they're able to build these epic tracks in such a way that they really have a great emotional payoff. I think the emotion, I'm going to say emotion a lot in this review because that's what they bring to the stage here. They're just really emotive and able to bring these soaring moments of majesty and epicness, and with these soaring guitar solos and these really emotive lead vocals. I just think it's really a great combination and just leaves me captivated and leaves me feeling something in the music, and that's really what's important to me and what it's all about. And that leads us to Every Note, which is a beautiful love ballad that I just think is so heartfelt and so earnest and so true. I just really love it. Some sweet sounding acoustic guitar with the great lead vocals coming in. A majestic, beautiful song. Motion is so heartfelt. I could see how this song could veer into cheesy territory, but they are able to steer away from that and do something that really feels earned and that feels like it's really special. And they really add a lot of elements to it to bring that weight to it. I love some flute that's added throughout the song. I love some pounding drums giving emotional heft to the second half. Soaring Emotive guitar soloing at the end is just the cherry on top of this beautiful Sunday, one of the highlights of the record. Even though it's more of a shorter ballad-esque song, it's just so beautifully rendered, and I just really like the sound of it. I think it's really fantastic. This leads into one of the big powerhouse moments of the record, Pearls and Fire, which is another of my favorite tracks. It's just fantastic storytelling device, because really this track is about a coming of age story, a boy who's counseled by his parents to hold back tears in order to be a man, but then ends up joining the military and to prove his manhood and to prove himself to his parents, only to have a disaster strike and having horrible experiences in this war that are quite graphic, and they're really expertly portrayed in the music. I just really love all of the build-up here, the skittering drums, the textured synths, the great vocals. There's a bit of an 80s throwback style to this, I feel. The music drops out at sections and leads to some strings and passion vocals before it comes back in. Some cool proggy interplay leads into more of a rocking beat and a classic rock feel with some killer guitar soloing and keyboard soloing. There's some great solos throughout this whole record that are really awesome on both keyboards and guitars. About 4.5 minutes in, we get some great proggy instrumental fireworks and amazing keyboard work that details the battle type sequence in the song, really displaying that scene really well in your head as things are playing out. You even get some light sound effects of like the battle sounds and gunfire and stuff that you might hear from a war. And then we get back into that 80s inspired synth and great grooving bass and drums with killer neo-prog flavored keyboards over top and an explosive finale reprising those great vocal themes from throughout the piece. It's just really expertly crafted and built into this really expansive, impressive neo-prog mini epic of sorts. I really love it. Then we get into another more laid-back ballad type feel with My Inspiration, starting with sweet acoustic guitar before the vocals come in, and then another beautiful heartfelt soaring chorus. There's some bit of a Genesis Wind and Wuthering type vibe and inspiration with some beautiful keyboard textures and chiming acoustic guitars through the midsection. It just builds into what is really just a beautiful, expressive song. It could have been just a simple, short ballad, but they really add textures and layers and neo-prog stylings to it to really beef it up and make it into something a bit more special and epic. Homecoming is a really fascinating track. It almost plays to me as a little bit of an introductory track before we get into the big epic, but it's great on its own as well, with some really interesting layered vocals and a really great extended guitar solo. I love the feel of the piece. There's a bit of a proggy workout with some great keyboard work once again before we get back to the vocals. And it's just a great display of the band's abilities and what they can do with their instrumentation before we get into this final piece, which is this how the story ends, which to me is the centerpiece of the record. It's just everything that I love about progressive rock in a great package here. An epic opening, the great expression of the main theme. There's a flute-like sound and guitars that play this main theme over and over. I love this proggy instrumental section and opening, about 3 minutes long, totally epic. And that main theme really sticks in your head and makes it that much more powerful when it returns throughout the song. Everything I'm looking for in prog is in this 3-minute opening that I really love, with some great keyboards, stellar drum work, prominent bass lines, and a really rocking style that keeps the listener captivated. This quiets down afterwards with some beautiful guitars and introduction of great vocals. I'm kind of reminded a bit in this section of Led Zeppelin's Stairway to Heaven, with just how it sounds and the guitars and vocals and how they're recorded. Just really some beautiful vocal harmonies. And it really lays into a fantastic groove at a point, with some bass and drums that really bring it forward. Some blind guitars and keyboards soloing throughout. This is my stuff. I really love how this proceeds, and there's just this incredible guitar solo about 5.5 minutes in that's just so tasty and so well done, and it's just one of my favorite moments of the record before we're led into another section that's built with strings and some rising drum beats, some spoken word in the background before we get some soaring vocals. Just a great beat and a great classic rock feel with great riffs and awesome keyboard textures. This epicness ensues at minute 13 with some swelling orchestration and power before we land back into that groovy section from earlier in the track. And then finally we get to this piano melody that brings back the earlier melodies of the song and signals this last section with some really powerful vocals, fantastic melodies, really amping up the power towards the end and building to that epic climax that you're looking for, and of course an epic guitar solo that plays it out at the end. So just fantastic work. I probably went a bit too deep into my thoughts about each track and really detailing all of the stuff that you hear throughout, but I wanted to do that because this deserves some attention. It's just really expertly crafted. The storytelling is well done. The messages of each song are really felt. And I love the vocals especially are just so beautiful and heartfelt and emotive. And the guitar soloing just really brings it all home and brings that epic majesty that you're looking for in the greatest progressive rock. And not to take away from the great bass and drums that really lay down the foundation, and the great keyboard textures that really add so much layers to the music, and incredible keyboard soloing that really adds an extra progressive pop to the songs and really keeps your interest level high. So this is a fantastic record, one of my favorites of the year, clearly. And I think it's a must-hear for all fans of this genre. They really know how to do it. They are just experts at their craft and are just getting better and more polished as they go. And the record just sounds fantastic, expertly produced, expertly played, and just really is a fantastic experience and package overall. A record I had to have in my collection. And I'm kind of hoping it comes out on vinyl at some point. I'd love to add it on vinyl as well. For now, I bought the CD version, which I love. So really, really exciting music, and I hope you guys will all check it out. So thank you guys for joining me. Hopefully you enjoyed this expression and this explanation of the music and what I love about it. So thank you guys, and I'll catch you guys in a future episode, hopefully. Thank you. Bye.
Don't think too much about it.